Right, beautiful people. All right. Who did I catch in the act tapping that left foot? Who did I catch? Was it Thomas? Was it you? No, Michael, it was you, wasn't it? Or James, or Jean, or Joseph.
It was
Hello, beautiful.
me.
It was you, Mari. It was you. Was it the left foot or the right foot, or did you have both of them tapping?
I was tapping both of them.
All right, all right. Give us just a moment. We're going to switch things over. Um, I see John out there. John, did you want to have anything to say, buddy, or you hanging out with us tonight,
Oh, he wants to say,
buddy? Hey, John.
Hello. Yeah, you can make me a panelist if you want to.
Okay, okay. John, did I catch you? Was that you?
I,
Yeah,
yeah, you unmuted
you
me.
were
Uh-huh.
tapping that left foot. Was that you? Coming over to you, buddy.
Okay, thank you.
Give me a moment. Whoops. Sorry about that. All righty, all righty, all righty. Good evening, everyone. I'll see if John's over here and we're ready to get started on this side. Hey, Mari, how are you?
good. Everything's great over here. How are
I'm
you doing, Professor?
amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't hear the puppy. What what's with the puppy?
Yeah.
Where's the puppy?
Napping. I have a serious
Really?
talk with him. Yeah, when I'm
Okay.
doing the Zooms, that's his nap time.
Okay. I was like, okay. I'm used to hearing the puppy now. I've gotten used to that. Hey, John, are you with us?
I am.
All right, John, did you want to share anything, say anything before we get started?
Oh, not at the moment.
All
I'm
right.
just,
All right, give me one more thing here. We'll acknowledge we're already past the top of the hour and want to honor everyone's time. So we'll acknowledge as many of you as we can as we go through Carla tonight's Zoom. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our BDM Billion Dollar Mind Zoom Thursday night Zoom. This is where we're going to really focus on our generational wealth model. For those of you that are new with us, I will share that real quickly. We've got a unique, I like to call it a UVP, unique value proposition. So many companies in our industry and the make money from home, make money online niche, they put the cart before the horse, and the cart is the income opportunity. Lots of companies out there with great income opportunities. I happen to believe that ours is the best. All right, and that's what we'll focus in on tonight. But most companies put the cart before the horse, and what we're doing here at Billion Dollar Mind is we're swapping that. We're turning the industry on its head, and here's why. Okay, you can have the best compensation model. Somebody does something for $100 and you get paid $1,000. It doesn't get better than that, right? But if your thinking is stinking, okay, it won't matter how great the model is. And so our focus is on the four pillars of faith. And by applying these universal laws, then it engenders true personal transformation, including our thinking. So if I come to this model, as phenomenal as it is, but I don't think I'm worthy, I don't think I deserve it, I don't think I'm good enough, then it really doesn't matter what the model is. But if I come to this model and at the same time, I'm learning these principles, applying them to my life, and understanding that as a man, woman thinks in his heart, her heart, so are we. And so, what are the four pillars? Our um, unique value proposition. Number one is gratitude. We call these the pillars of faith. Great attitude. Number two is vision. So we want to write the vision, make it plain. We can never hit a target that we cannot see. So as we go through this tonight, I want you to be thinking from a financial standpoint, specifically, what are some financial goals you have? Whether it's getting out of debt, what would that feel like? Which gives us number three, heart. Well, we want to get the vision not just from our head, but into our heart. We want to take time out every day to feel what it would be like to be out of debt, to be completely, totally, and utterly debt free. What would it feel like to be able to send your children or your grandchildren to college? What would it feel like to be able to donate to that foundation or start your own foundation in the memory of someone that you love so dear? What would it feel like to be able to travel when and where you want to go and stay as long as you want to? What would it feel like to know that your retirement is secure, and if you've got aging parents, you're able to provide for them? Okay, so that's number three, and then number four, in terms of the four pillars of faith, affirmations, calling those things that are not as though they were, affirming, making firm those things that previously were not firm. All right, so those are the four pillars of faith. On Sunday nights, we really delve deeply into those four pillars, and it'll be right here on the same Zoom at the same time, 8 p.m. New York time. Tuesday night, there's also sharing from those four pillars. And then throughout the week, there will be a content that will be shared to further emphasize those four pillars. Everything is designed so that we can apply these pillars of faith, that we can get real results in our lives. And obviously, tonight we're going to talk about the financial part. Okay, so now, um, before we get into the meat of our model, I want to back things up just a little bit. I want to go back, and John is here. John, would you mind just kind of coming on real quickly and tell us about your story? A buddy of yours introduced you to Bitcoin when it was just a nickel. Would you tell us a little bit about that account, your story there, sir?
Well, that's one of those would have, could have, should have. Yes. I think it was about 2010. I had a friend that kept telling me to buy Bitcoin. I mean, he was adamant. He was just over and over again, John, you got to buy Bitcoin. John, you got to buy Bitcoin. And you know, I had other things to buy. I had other uses for my money, and I mean, I could have bought $100 worth. I could have bought $1,000 worth. Um, if I had bought um, just $100 worth back then, this year, I could have sold it for $260 million.
Ooh,
$100 could have sold it this year for 260 million. So,
wow.
if I'd have bought $1,000 worth, it would have been in, well above a billion. So these are the opportunities that we've all had. I wasn't the only one who had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin. I wasn't the only one who missed Microsoft stock. I wasn't the only one who missed a lot of opportunities that were there to anybody that grabbed a hold of them. But we have an opportunity right now. And for the same $100, I think you can buy about 62,000 Flare coins. And if that goes to $40,000, like some pundits are predicting, that would end up being $266 million dollars
Hmm.
for $100 worth of Flare right now. So, um, there's no guarantees or no promises, but are we going to stop at $100 worth of Flare? No. We're going to help people get millions of Flare if they want them, if they want to work toward that, or thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever they desire is available to them.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And John, my first introduction to Bitcoin, it wasn't at 5 cents, but it was at 500. But still, I look back and say, oh my gosh, I left tens of millions on the table. I was promoting a project in 2014, August of 2014 to be exact, a little more than 10 years ago. We were getting paid in Bitcoin, and bought Bitcoin at $515. My first foray into the cryptocurrency space. Bitcoin went down from 500 down to 432. 166 bucks is what I remember it getting as low as. I didn't have the vision for it. That particular project I referred a gentleman, and I just stopped promoting it. I heard all the naysayers online talking about, Bitcoin was a flim flam sham scam Ponzi. Okay. And the company I was promoting for, they said flim flam sham Ponzi. All right. And so I just stopped promoting it. I just didn't know enough, didn't have enough information. Um, I shouldn't say that. The information was available. I chose not to continue to promote it. Now, here's the thing. My buddy, who I referred to that particular project, he kept at it. As a matter of fact, much like John's buddy said, man, John, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Bitcoin. My buddy was saying, come on, dude, promote this thing, promote this thing. Well, he continued to promote. So he made more Bitcoin than I did. I took my Bitcoin, I needed to convert it to usable, spendable cash because I wasn't really going for it. So I didn't really amass a lot of Bitcoin. Meanwhile, over a 4-year period, he amassed enough Bitcoin that when Bitcoin started to go to 5,000, 10,000, I think about the time he shared this with me, it was about $17,000 of Bitcoin. He reached out to me and said, "Thank you, Prof. Because of you, I'm a multimillionaire." And I said, "Well, what do you mean because of me? What did I do?" I introduced him to that project, but I didn't take advantage of it myself, not to the degree that he did. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our platform, we're going to use a cryptocurrency called Flare. It is a newer blockchain. John's daughter has a very intimate relationship with Flare. She's worked a lot uh, um, behind the scenes. Okay. And this particular cryptocurrency, they're saying could go to $40,000. Now, I'm not going to suggest that it's going to go to 40,000. But what I want to do and what I want to assist as many of you that want to, I want to accumulate, I'm going to accumulate millions of Flare. Now, I want to help our folks get to at least 5 to 10 million Flare. And you could say, well, let me just go and buy 5 to 10 million Flare. Okay. All right. A few weeks ago, it was at 2 cents. So if you bought 5 million Flare, all right, at 2 cents, that $100,000. All right. So you could just go and get $100,000, buy 5 million Flare, sit on it, and maybe it goes to $4, or maybe it goes to $10, or what have you. And you'd be worth tens of millions of dollars. Or we could leverage the Billion Dollar Mind model, which is what we're looking to do, to help you grow a Flare asset, uh, um, enough Flare where you've got maybe 5 or 10 million, maybe even more. Now, let's assume that Flare just gets to $1 and you're sitting on 10 million Flare. That's 10 million in value. A long way from 40,000. If it gets to $4 and you're sitting on 10 million, now you're talking generational wealth. So let's go into the model. Let's talk about the model. All right. So we call it our generational wealth model. Now, this model is not just to generate generational wealth. We want to do that. Okay. But we also know that there are more immediate needs that people have financially. And so with this model, there are no monthly subscriptions. So, Gene, you're not going to have another bill. All right. No $100 a month or $150 a month or anything like that. Number two, you're going to donate. So we have a donation plan, and it's leveraging another universal law, the law of the harvest, or some people say sowing and reaping. And the law goes like this. It's really at least three components. John and his brilliance may introduce a fourth or fifth one that I hadn't even thought of, but I know these three. It says this: we reap what we sow, law of the harvest, one. Two, we have to sow to reap. And three, when we reap so much more than what we sow. So what happens here is we've got donation packages. You choose the amount that you want to donate. Low donation packages, medium donation packages, high ticket donation packages, and low, medium, high ticket payouts. Why is that? Because there's an 80% payout. Now, I've been in this industry for 30 years. Most companies, and I've been on the other side, I've been on the administrative side, I've been on the ownership side. And I can tell you, most companies can't afford to pay out 80% because they have cost of goods manufactured or produced or services or what have you. So most companies are going to pay out about 35, maybe 50%. Okay. We can pay out 80% because it's a donation plan. The other 20% is there to grow the company and to take care of infrastructure and all that good stuff. But 80% immediately gets paid out. No, then it also only gets paid out to one person. And why is that significant? It's significant so that it's not diluting the payout. So when you're in a model, and I've been a part of a number of these models, all right, where 5 people, 6 people, 10 people get paid out. So here you are, you're with another company, and we're never going to foo-fooey on another company. Okay. You're with another company, they pay out 35 to 50%. But then they pay that out to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, which further dilute what's being paid out. Not long ago, one of our folks, they referred one person. That one person they referred had about a $4,000 donation budget. What that meant for the person who did the referring is they got an 80% payout, over $3,000, because one person came aboard with them and donated to a number of the donation plans. Okay. No loss payouts. We're going to spend some time talking about that. This is what has this industry buzzing, because I've never seen this in 30 years in this industry. No loss referrals, another major buzz point of our model, unlimited width and unlimited depth. We'll cover that in just a few moments. Okay. Single payouts. All right. Because of our donation packages, we've got a $10 donation package. So that means virtually anyone in the world that wants to get started can get started with us. It pays out 80%, $8. But we've got a $20,000 donation package, pays out 80%, $16,000. Okay. And a whole bunch of donation packages in between. Okay. Now, the reality is that one could refer one person, and the potential, maybe perhaps all of my disclaimers, if everything worked out just right, and a lot of things would have to work out just right, that one person could be worth, in our model, just under $50,000 to you in the amount that you could make from their donations. We're assuming you go all the way up the donation ladder, they go all the way up the donation ladder. And the beautiful part, you're not going to have to wait for next month. Someone donates today, you're not going to have to wait for next month or the end of next week or the 15th of the month or what have you. Those donations, they'll go into your wallet, and sitting in your withdrawal wallet, you'll be able to withdraw that out immediately once that donation has been made. Okay. Now let's talk about the donation plans, and I really want to focus on this concept of no loss payouts. All right, so we've got 12 plans. They work independently, Doris, of each other. So we've got the $10 plan. You see it pays out 80% or $8. We've got a $2,500 plan. You see it pays out 80% or $2,000. Okay. There's a $20,000 plan and all these plans in between. So each plan works independently. Now, what you want to do, and I want you thinking about this as you're watching this, what is your maximum donation budget? Remember, law of the harvest, we reap what we sow. We have to sow to reap, but when we reap more than what we sow. So you really want to get started at the highest level based on what makes sense for you and your family. Now, I'm going to show you what I believe is the sweet spot. So you want to get as close to the sweet spot as you possibly can. And if that means it's $10, then that's what that means. You know, if things are, at that point for you, or maybe you're in a country where you don't have, the incomes are much lower or what have you. Okay. But I'm going to show you the best way. All right. And then obviously your big boys and big girls, you'll look at your own donation budget and you'll figure out what works best for you and your family. All right. So I'm going to show 2,500. There's a couple reasons why 2,500 is a sweet spot. There's 12 plans. This is right smack dab in the middle. However, the reason to me this is the sweet spot is if you did 2,500, okay? And let's say you referred someone and they came aboard and they did 2,500. That person is connected or what we call coded to you. You'll understand that a little bit more in just a few moments, okay? Well, then that means that you would generate 2,000 in the payout. And guess what this would do? This would then, our system will automatically, all right, if you've got funds sitting in your wallet, our system will look and see what plans you have not yet donated to so that you are qualified that when someone donates to those plans, you can withdraw those funds out as withdrawable cash. So in this case, what would happen is, let's say you came aboard with 2,500, you brought on Mari, she came aboard with 2,500. Okay, you got a $2,000 payout, and our system would automatically say, "Hey, let's go on and upgrade you to all these plans." It would donate for you. Okay, all right, it would take that and donate for you. So now you're qualified for all of these. Now, why is that important? Okay, let's say that after the person that came aboard with you did the 2,500, you're now qualified for all of these. And now you have someone who comes and they do 1,000. But because you're already qualified, because you've made that donation, even if it didn't come out of your pocket, it came out of your proceeds. Okay. That person, a new person donates 1,000. That 800 is now in your withdrawable wallet. You want to withdraw out that 800, withdraw out the 800. Okay. Now, for the person who says, I want to make a few extra hundreds a month, perhaps a few extra thousands per month. That's why I love Plan 2,500 as a sweet spot. Not in your budget right now. Okay, maybe Plan 1,000 is, or maybe Plan 500. The point is, you want to sow the proper seeds. And the proper seeds say, I want people to do their best. So I'm going to do my best. Not going to hurt my family, not going to borrow money for this kind of stuff, but I want to do my best so that I'm sowing the proper seeds so that I'm uh uh the universe pays me back, all right, by having people in my referral network that are looking to do the same. Now, let's talk about no loss payouts, okay? This is powerful. So let's say you came aboard, you did the 2,500. You brought on Charlene. Charlene has a little more resources. Charlene does 5,000. Okay. Now, with most platforms, if you referred someone and they were in a position to get ahead of you in terms of donate at a higher level than you were able to, you would miss out on that 4,000 payout. Usually, one of two things would happen. This 4,000 would go upstream, upline to somebody above you that maybe has done the 5,000. And if there is nobody above you that's done the 5,000, it would break to the company. That 4,000 would go to the company. Yippee, the company. John said, no, we're not doing that. What would happen here is this 4,000, it would not be withdrawable because you're not qualified for plan 5,000. However, you don't lose it. What would happen? What would happen is this would go on hold. I like to call it your bank. And remember, I mentioned there is an automatic upgrade feature. So then what would happen is from the 4,000, the system would automatically upgrade you to as many of these plans as the 4,000 would do. So it would take care of your plan 10, your plan 50, your plan 100, your plan 250, your plan 500, and your plan 1,000. Now you had already done the 2,500, so you already qualified for that. Okay. All right. And so when you do the math on that, that's $1,910 that your bank, your holdings upgraded you to, and you would still have 2,090 remaining in your hold balance or your bank, if you will. Now, why is that important? Because now, let's say you want to go to the 5,000, you don't have to come off the street with 5,000. You already have 2,090 right there. If you had the resources and you want to just simply send in the extra to do the 5,000, you could. Or if you wanted to take any of the proceeds from building your referral network, as those folks are donating to plans and you're getting proceeds from that, you could use that to go to Plan 5,000. Ultimately, we want each and every person that has just a little bit of want to get through each and every one of these plans. What would that do for you? That would mean that whenever anyone connected to you, and you'll see how you can have a ton of people ultimately connected to you, even if you're not a big time referrer. Okay. Anyone that's connected to you that donates to any of these plans, once you're qualified for all of them, that means all of those proceeds are withdrawable. And we want to do this now when Flare is right now is actually less than 2 cents. It's about a penny and a half. We want to do this before Flare gets to $1, before it gets to $2, before it gets to $10. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Okay, so now that's called no loss payouts. All right, good. Let's move on. Give me a moment. All right, now let's start to talk about the structure. All right, so everybody tonight, you're going to be in the position of Sue. All right, if your name is Tom, if your name is Jan, if your name is Andrew, you're in the position of Sue. In this example, you are going to refer a few folks. You're going to refer, in this example, Jorge and Sasha and Becky and Paul and Rodney and Elizabeth. Okay. Now you can refer as many as you would like. Okay. The more people you personally refer, the more people are going to hear this message and could be donating to you and your causes, those things that are important to you. And then the more you can ultimately build a referring donation network. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to come back to those folks in just a few moments. Here's a few things I want to share on this screen, and then we're going to put meat on the bones in the example. All right. So you're going to receive payouts from the first, the third, the fifth person and beyond that donates to each specific plan. This works for all 12 plans, whether it's the $10, whether it's the 20,000. Okay. This is part of your harvest. So if Rodney is the first person to donate to the $1,000 plan, you are going to get the proceeds of that. If Mari is the third person that donates to the $5,000 plan, you're going to get the proceeds of that. Now, if you're not qualified for it yet, it'll go in your holding tank, it'll go in your bank, and it will look to qualify you for what you're not qualified for already. Okay. All right. The fifth person, the sixth person, the 17th person, all of those donations, whoever is the first, the third, the fifth, or beyond that donates to any specific plan, those proceeds go to you. Okay. That's your harvest, part of your harvest. Now, your specific donations, when you donate to the 2,500, when you donate to the 5,000, when you donate to the 10, when you donate to the 50, when you donate to any of the plans, that's you sowing a seed. Likewise, when a person is number 2 or number 4 in donating to a specific plan, let's say you referred Mari, and she's the second person that donated to the $10 plan or the $100 plan, that those proceeds are going to go upstream. That's part of your sowing. Remember the law of the harvest. We reap what we sow, 1. We've got to sow to reap 2. Number 3, when we reap more than what we sow. Now let's help you understand this. Okay. So we've got Sue. She brought on Jorge and Sasha and Becky and Paul and Rodney and Elizabeth. And it doesn't matter the order that they clicked on her referral link and joined as a BDM member. Doesn't matter. What matters is what order are they in making a donation. So let's say that Sue, she came aboard, she went for the sweet spot. She did a $2,500 donation. Okay. So that went upstream. That's part of her sowing a seed. Okay. Let's say that Paul, although in this example, Paul is the fourth person that joined through her referral link, let's say that Paul is the first person to do the 2,500. So Paul does 2,500. Okay. He's the first person to do the 2,500. Who gets those proceeds? Sue does. Because Paul was the first person that did the 2,500. Okay. Bear with me. All right. Now, let's say that Sasha came aboard and she's the second person. Now, I tell you what, let's say Jorge came aboard. All right. So Jorge came aboard. Now, he's the first person to join through her referral link. But he hasn't made a donation yet. Okay. Let's say that Jorge's first donation is the $10 donation. And by the way, when Paul did this 2,500, this 2,000 in proceeds, let's say it went and maybe Sue hadn't done any of the other donations. She just did the 2,500. The system upgrades her. All right. So now she's qualified for all of these donations, which means when someone connected to her for that plan, donates to one of these plans, that's withdrawable cash for her or withdrawable flare. She'll withdraw it out. It's in flare, and then she can convert it into usable, spendable cash. We'll make sure you know how to do that. Okay. All right. Now, Jorge came aboard, did the $10. He's the first person to do the $10. Got it? First person to do the $10. Who gets the proceeds? Who gets the $8? Say it with me. Sue does. Why? Because he was the first person. Had he been the third, Sue would have gotten that. Had he been the fifth person to do the $10, Sue would have gotten that. Had he been the sixth, the 17th, the 139th, Sue would have gotten that. Okay. Now, let's say he then says, okay, I see how this now works. I'm going to go and do 2,500 myself. I want the sweet spot. Now, he's the second to do the 2,500. Who gets the 2,000 proceeds? That goes upstream. Okay. Had he been the first, the third, the fifth, the 17th, that would have gone to Sue. Because he's the second, or if he were the fourth, that would go upstream. Okay. So that's part of the seed. That's part of the sowing process. Okay. All right. Now, Sasha, let's say she's the third person to do the 2,500. Okay. Who gets that 2,000 proceeds? Sue does. Let's say that Rodney is the fourth person that does the 2,500. Who gets those proceeds? That goes upstream. Second and fourth for that specific plan goes upstream. First, third, fifth, and beyond goes to Sue, goes to you. Second and fourth goes upstream. All right. Becky is the fifth to do the 2,500. That's Sue. Elizabeth is the sixth to do the 2,500. That's Sue. Okay. All right. So I want us to get that part first. Bear with me. Okay. So for those that are the first, the third, the fifth, and beyond, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Those people are connected or coded to you for that plan. But what that means is that their second and fourth for that specific plan gets rolls up to you in terms of the proceeds. Okay. So just like your second and fourth went upstream, anyone who's your first, your third, your fifth, your 17th, your 182nd. In that plan, they're coded to you so that their second and their fourth, those donations go to you. Okay. This is your massive, massive harvest. So let's see what this looks like. Okay. So what we had before, we had Paul, who was the first to do the 2,500. Okay. Now, what this means is as Paul is building his own referral donation network, the first person that Paul brings aboard that does the 2,500, those proceeds go to Paul. His first, his third, his fifth, and beyond. But the second person that does the 2,500, where do these proceeds go to? Say it with me. They go to Sue. But since you and all of you are Sue right now, that would go to you. Did you get that? Because it was the second person that Paul brought aboard that did the 2,500, that person, number two, is coded to you, and you get that 2,000. His third goes where? To him. First and third. His fourth for plan 2,500 goes where? Goes to Sue, goes to you. Okay. Now his fifth, sixth, 17th, 183rd go to Paul. Okay. What about this person is number two? What about this person is number four? Well, this person is number two, their second and fourth. This person is number four, their second and fourth. For this $2,500 plan, you get that 2,000. Huh? Wait, you not only get the second and the fourth, you get their second and their fourth, and their second and their fourth. Doesn't stop there. You also get their second and their fourth, and their second and their fourth, and their second and their fourth, and their second and their fourth. Doesn't stop there. And their second and their fourth, 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 their second and their fourth, and their second and fourth. Doesn't stop there. That goes to unlimited depth. So when we said we'll get back to the unlimited width, the fact that you can refer as many folks as you like, unlimited depth, this could go down to infinity. And that's just one person. So I want you to understand, you could just refer one person and this could happen. But in this case, you didn't just refer one person. You referred 6. So what this means, it works the same way for every plan. So Jorge was the first person who did the $10, right? So that means he's coded to you for the $10 plan. So his first person that does the $10 goes to Jorge. Second person goes to Sue. Third person for that plan, all right, goes to Jorge. Fourth donation of the $10 goes to Sue, or the fourth person to donate goes to Sue. And guess what? Their second and fourth, and 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 their second and fourth. This works for every single plan, whether it's the $10, whether it's the 50 or the 100 or the 5,000 or the 20,000. Their second and fourth, their second and fourth, their second and fourth, their second and fourth. Anyone that's coded to you for that specific plan, their second and fourth, and their second and fourth, and their second and fourth, and their second and fourth to an unlimited depth. It's coded to you for that plan, which means you get the proceeds. Let me show you how this looks. And we're almost finished. Let me show you how this looks. Okay. So this is yours truly. This is when we first got started. Okay. I referred a buddy of mine, Michael. Now, Michael was the first, he wasn't the first person I referred. He was the first person I referred that donated to Plan 10. And so Michael for Plan 10 is my first person, which means that the proceeds of that $10 donation, $8, went to yours truly. Okay. The second person wasn't the second person I referred, but the second person that donated to the $10 plan is my buddy Yusuf. And Yusuf is probably on the Zoom tonight. He's normally here with his lovely wife. Okay. Notice Yusuf was the second person that donated to the $10 plan. Those proceeds went upstream. That's part of my seed. I want my the person I'm coded to, who I happen to be coded to, John, who developed the system. This man, listen, because of this guy, and what he's been teaching, I've been putting into practice what he's been sharing about these 4 pillars of faith, especially writing my vision, especially taking time each day to meditate. He's got an amazing guided meditation. I love it. All right, love starting my day off with it and sitting in the feeling of what it would be like to attain my vision. Well, one of the things that I wanted to see, a better relationship between myself and my children, particularly my 2 sons who are now out of the house. I've transformed a great deal since they were under my roof. And I can't put a price tag on the fact that, John, yesterday, my son, who hadn't spoken to me in several months, he was ticked off at me. And I didn't even know why he was ticked off. He was ticked off at me. And so I started going into meditation, following John's guided meditation, sitting in the feeling of what it would feel like when we were back and restored in communication and relationship. John, I'm on the phone with my son yesterday for 2.5 hours, and we talked about so much. I know a lot more about his love life than I care to know. So I want to sow seed into fertile ground, into good ground. So look at this. And plan 10, Michael Vitrano is my number 1. Yusuf is my number 2. My number 3, that goes to me. My number 4 for that plan, that goes up. My 5th, my 6th, my 17th, my 18th, 19th, so on and so forth. That goes to me. All right. Now look at this. Let's go to another plan, because remember, each plan stands on its own merits. So when we get to plan 50, notice that Yusuf, who was number 2 in plan 10, is number 1 in plan 50. So this $40 payout, 80%, that went to yours truly. Mike Vitrano, who was in plan 10 and my number 1 spot, is in my number 2 spot in the plan 50. That goes up. That's a seed sowing in the fertile ground. LK from the great state of Washington was number 3. All right. That went to yours truly. And Terrence was number 4. That went up. Now, again, this was just when we first got started. So I've got a 5th and 6th and 7th and so on and so forth. Now, those now go to me. Okay. Now, what I want us to see is with Yusuf, his first person that does the plan 50, that's going to go to Yusuf, his first. The second person that does plan 50 at Yusuf's referral, that's going to go to me. His second, his fourth. His third person that does plan 50, that's going to go to Yusuf. His first, third, fifth, 17th, 198th. His fourth person that does plan 50, that's going to go to yours truly, but it won't stop there, because they're second and fourth. They're second and fourth. And second and fourth, and second and fourth, and second and fourth, and second and fourth, and second and fourth. So imagine that once your referral network starts to gain traction, imagine what that's going to be like when you go into your back office and you start seeing $40 payouts from a 50, or $80 payouts from 100, or $400 payouts from a $500 donation, or $800 from a $1,000 donation. And it wasn't even one of your personal referrals. It was a second and fourth, or a second and fourth, or a second and fourth. Look at this. Almost finished. All right. Now we go to plan 100. There's Yusuf. So in plan 10, Yusuf was my number 2. In plan 50, Yusuf was my number 1. In plan 100, Yusuf is my number 2. So we don't know when somebody's going to donate to a specific plan. So the other thing that John did with this amazing model is he basically made it manipulation proof. So we've got no lost payouts. We've got no lost referrals. I didn't lose Yusuf because Yusuf could be my first, my third, my fifth with a $10,000 donation. Yusuf could be my first, my third, my fifth, my 17th with the $20,000 donation. I haven't lost Yusuf. For a specific plan, I mean, I get the proceeds. That's a seed. Law of the universe, the law of sowing and reaping, the law of the harvest. Okay. Got to sow to reap. Reap what we sow, got to sow to reap. But when we reap so much more than what we sow. Just about finished here. And I'll show you this one. Plan 250, plan 500. Once again, look at that. We've got Mike Vitrano there. So Mike was my first with plan 10, but he was my second with plan 50, but he was my first with plan 500. So I haven't lost Michael Vitrano. For a specific plan, I may not get the proceeds, that may go up. That's a seed. But now with plan 500, this was Michael Vitrano's first referral was Jeffrey. All right. So Michael got that. But his second that does plan 500, whoa. So now, aren't I incentivized to want to see Michael successful? Yeah, I want to see him, refer more folks. I want to help him grow his referral base because in time, one of his folks could be the second person that does the 500. Then his third that does 500, Michael's going to get. His fourth that does the 500, yours truly would get. But then there's second and fourth, and there's second and fourth, and there's second and fourth, and there's second and fourth, so on. Okay. And of course, Michael would get the fifth and the sixth and the 17th and the 198th. Okay. All right. Ooh, I'm past my time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start the round third here. By the way, just keep in mind, you don't have to be some big recruiting guru, sponsoring magnet. You could refer just one person. And if that person, like Jorge, goes out and has a first, and then a second, and a third, and a fourth, with any of these plans, whether it's 10 or 2,500 or 20,000, not only if Jorge was your first or third or fifth in any of these plans, that goes to you, but his second and fourth with any of these plans goes to Sue. And they're second and fourth. So you don't have to be a sponsoring magnet or some recruiting guru. Okay. All right. So now as we round third, and this would be a great time if you have questions to start filling up the questions box with questions. Why do we want to move with a sense of urgency? Because Flair is only it's less than 2 cents. Give me a moment. Give me just a moment here. Bear with me. So Flair has actually been around a penny and a half. Okay. I want to show you something. So our largest donation is 20,000. It pays out $16,000. Okay. Let's say that you got to the point where you're qualified for the $20,000 spot. Somebody that's coded to you, doesn't even have to be someone you referred. They could be a second and fourth of someone else. Okay. Someone that's coded to you does the 20,000. Okay. You've done the 20,000. They've done the 20,000. All right. So you're qualified for that 16,000 to be withdrawable. Well, if we did this at Flair's current pricing at, let's say, 0.0156. That means that when you withdrew out the 16,000 in Flair, you'd have over a million Flair. You'd have a million Flair. Now, our target is to get you to where you've got 5 to 10 million after you've converted some of that Flair into usable, spendable cash for right now more immediate cash flow needs. Okay. But over time, we still want you to have 5 to 10 million that you didn't have to touch. You could build up your Flair portfolio. And if Flair got to $1 and you have 5 to 10 million of them, you've got 5 to 10 million in value. Flair gets to $4, not 40,000. Now you're potentially talking about generational wealth, 20 to 40 million in that example. Now let's do the same thing, 16,000. Let's say you said, you know what, let me see what this thing's going to look like. They're just getting launched, and they're really kind of more in the pre-launch, or a soft launch, I should say. They're still getting ready to get ready, but you can go on and make your deposits. You can go on and do your donations, proceeds show up in your back office. Full withdrawals will be happening very soon. Let's say you did the 16,000 payout, but not when Flair's at a penny and a half. Flair's at $2. You see the difference? Flair being what it is, if you got that $16,000 payout in Flair at 1.5 cents, that's a million Flair. And if that just went to $1, and let's say you didn't have to cash any of that out, you just kept it there in Flair, that's a million in value. Versus Flair's at $2, and the same 16,000 gets you 8,000 Flair. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in this space for 30 years. I typically have had multiple things going on at one time. You know what my singular business focus is? It's Billion Dollar Mind. Why? Because I missed out when Bitcoin was 515. I didn't get it. And I left tens of millions on the table. John probably left $1 billion or more on the table. I don't want to leave anything on the table. So as we close out, what do you want to do? You want to determine what your budget is. What's your donation budget? And so for those of you who are returning and you're already a member with us, if you started, with a smaller amount, you started with 10 or 50 or 100, now you get, law of the universe, the law of the harvest. Hey, I want to bump up and do the 250 now. I want to bump up and do the 500 now. I want to bump up and do the 1,000. Go on and do it. For those of you who are doing this for the first time, what's your overall budget? And then based on your maximum donation budget, come in at the highest maximum donation budget without hurting yourself. And so if that's 20,000, great. If that's 2,500, great. One of our folks recently did the 2,500 and the 1,000 and the 500 and the 250 and the 100 and the 50 and the 10. They had a little more than a $4,000 budget. And this wasn't a person that I referred, but it was somebody that I referred who referred them. And what I loved is that person who did a $4,000 budget, they were the first person to do all of these plans with the person I referred, which means the person I referred, not me, got a $3,200 payout, whatever this is, 2,000 plus the 800, 2,800, 3,200, 3,400, 3,480, 3,520, 3,528. And that person, by the way, who got that payout is 80 years young. No excuses. All right. So here's what you want to do. You want to get back to the person who referred you to tonight's Zoom, ask them for their affiliate link. You want to figure out what's going to be your top donation. come in with the highest donation amount, even if it means, let's say if you've got, 1,500, we don't have a 1,500 donation package. So you would say, okay, well, let me do the 1,000 and the 500 as an example. Okay. All right. But come in with the highest donation package that makes sense to you without hurting yourself. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm finished here. If you've got questions, go on and put them in the questions box. If Mari hasn't already been answering those, a lot of times she does that during the course of the Zoom. Mari, are there any questions that you see that have not yet been answered, or perhaps they've already been answered?
I
No, no. Oh,
I,
go ahead,
I
John.
put a link to our landing page.
Let's see here.
People,
Did you already do that,
can the
John?
members see that? I say, can the members see the answer I put in there? It's a link to our landing page.
Yes. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a new landing page. If you go in the question and answers box under the answered, you'll see that John just put a link there. I mentioned earlier, for those of you that want to leverage the free portal, um, there will be a BDM portal. I mentioned earlier this week that it would launch um, the latter part of this week. It's actually going to launch likely on Monday. So just be watching your information over the weekend. We're probably going to have an impromptu Zoom on this same Zoom link on Monday to launch the BDM portal. There will have a lot of our recorded material will be right there in the portal. All right. So you won't have to search, all over the place, as well as how to get started. So a new person coming aboard, getting started, there'll be videos right there on how to get started. 24-hour a day, 7 day a week presentation material, and all be free for you, ladies and gentlemen, as well as quite a bit of content that you'll be able to share to get this messaging out. So take advantage of the landing page that's right there in the question and answer box, and be on the lookout for more information about likely on Monday. We're likely going to have an impromptu on Monday to introduce and share with you the portal and how that works and how you can leverage that to grow your referral network. We're also going to have our next live Zoom actually on Sunday. This is where we go into the 4 pillars of faith, practical sharing on how to apply those 4 pillars of faith to our lives to affect positive personal transformation. Okay. John, do you have anything else that you want to share? Mari, anything else that you want to share before we call it a night?
I would, but I got construction going on here, so
Well, I can't hear any construction.
you can't hear it.
Uh-uh.
Well, speaking of synergy, when two people come together, when two horses come together, they can pull 3 to 5 times as much weight. You know, I met a gentleman that he was worth $300 million, and I had the opportunity to sit down and pick his brain for about a half hour, and I didn't waste a minute. I asked him what was the secret to his success, and he immediately said, "I read the book Think and Grow Rich." I asked him if he knew Jack Zufelt, who is a very famous trainer and motivator, author, and he said yes. And I said, well, when at the beginning of his seminars, he has people stand up if they've read the book Think and Grow Rich, and remain standing if they got rich after reading it. Of course, everybody sits down. I asked him to respond to that, and he said, that's easy. They read the book once. I read the book 21 times. So I immediately, when I got home, pulled the book off my shelf and began reading it again. And I actually read it more than 21 times. And each time I did, you know, some I learned some new gems, some things came out of that book
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
I really hadn't paid attention to or noticed before. But if there's one thing that stood out to me more than any other thing, it was the mastermind group. Here you had a group of businessmen who came together and they shared ideas. They helped each other financially, and every single one of them became multimillionaires, and some even became billionaires. So that's really what we have here. We have a similar situation. I don't know if you can hear me above that or not.
Well, I hear it in the background, but I hear you loud and clear. You're
Okay.
good. You're good.
All right. So we we have a similar situation if we understood what we have our hands on, okay? If we only understood. I liken it to the difference between driving a car and walking. Once you learn how to drive a car, would you ever go back to walking to work and, to buy your groceries and all of those things? No, you wouldn't. Yeah, certainly we're going to walk, we're going to walk certain places, but we're going to use that automobile as much as we possibly can. We have a similar vehicle here. We have a vehicle where if we come together with the right mind, the right attitude, and just help each other because we want to help each other. See, these men, these businessmen had no obligation to help each other. They only did it because they wanted to. And if we will get that same attitude and really understand the power of synergy, how God does the heavy lifting. Some force is lifting that extra weight when you hitch two horses together. Well, the same thing is happening when when people come together in unity and they work together for a common cause. Everybody here, every single one has certain, I'm sure, financial problems, goals, projects that they would like to accomplish, and they simply can't accomplish it on their own.
Mhm.
And so if we donate to their cause out of the goodness of our heart, and we go out and share this with other people, we're going to see some amazing things happen. We're going to get some supernatural help that's going to uh, help us to accomplish our goals, our projects. And, I just can't uh, really express, my feelings enough here as I've pondered over this mastermind idea. And maybe you and I and Mari can get together and maybe come up with some more ideas how we really expand this mastermind idea because we've got our hands on something that's going to change the world if we
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
work with it. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, John. Those of you who are visiting with us, you get well. Actually, you're not a visitor anymore. All right, you're at home. You're home. You're finally home. Go in the refrigerator. You want to go on and get you some iced tea? Go on. You're home. You're home. Welcome home. So welcome to Billion Dollar Mind. Get back with the person that referred you. Get the referral link.
Uh,
Choose the plan that you want to get started with. Yes, Mari.
Sorry, I did want to just follow up a little something with what John just shared.
Yes.
John, you were talking about Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill, right? Uh, do you
Yes.
have you have you listened to? Well, been listening to the audio book of Napoleon Hill's. It was recently published, not too long ago. It's called Outwitting the Devil, and it's really interesting because as legend goes, Napoleon Hill interviewed the devil, and in the interview, the devil told him, "I'm going to make it so you never publish this book." And Napoleon Hill said, "Well, I'm going to publish it as soon as I'm done writing it." And interestingly, he did not publish it. He did not publish it because his wife was very, "What are people going to think? This is crazy." And so he didn't publish it. And then and his wife, once he passed away, his wife refused to publish it. It wasn't until she passed away that then they published the book. And the interview is really it's really amazing how that was in the 1940s and how much it applies now. But one of the principles, what you were talking about, it's actually emphasized that the devil says that people, when they come together, they don't realize the power they come of that. Like you were talking about synergy that starts working, and if they only utilize that power, uh, yeah. So it's a
Mhm.
powerful interview. It's really interesting. Um, but yeah, it goes right along with what you were sharing. So it's almost like it follows up on Think and Grow Rich. Only this is from a totally different perspective, but it just reinforces all of the, what he was talking about in that first book. Anyways, just
Now,
wanted to share that.
thank you, Mari. And the question is, would we ever go back to working alone if we really understood the power of working together? Would we ever do that?
Mm.
And I think the answer is no. It's just that we don't yet understand. Some things we learn very quickly in life. You touch a hot frying pan
Yeah.
and you don't want to do that ever again, right?
Right,
We
right,
learn
right,
some
right.
things very quickly, but some things we just don't grasp for a long, long time. We have to hear it over and over and over again. And I think this is one of those principles. But as we move forward and we begin to see the power of unity, yeah, we have a small group right now, and that's okay. But even a small group can affect a huge change. And as we go out and share this and we really get the spirit of working together, absolutely. I just don't believe we'll ever want to go back to any other form of business, any other, form of working alone. And that's really where we are in most spaces, most jobs, most businesses. We're out there working alone.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Mari.
Well,
Thank you, John.
Mari, thank you for your input. John, thank you for your input. For everyone on the other side, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to visit your present, all right, which will become an amazing future for you. We love each and every one of you. Have a phenomenal weekend. If you're going to be seeing family or traveling or anything over the weekend, please be careful. Please be safe. We love each and every one of you. Let's transform this world together, starting with yours. We'll see you on Sunday night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.